All right, today we're going to look at Golden State and how they were affected by some turnovers against the Kings in Game 2. In this game, they had 20 turnovers, and we're going to look at some of the reasons why they had these turnovers. So first off, one, you can just see Kings putting bodies in the paint, allowing Kevon Looney to turn it over. The way we're going to focus on it specifically, though, is we're going to look at the ball screens and look at the ball screens in particular, how the ball screens and active hands by the Kings allowed for turnovers in the first half, but then what the Warriors did in the second half to counteract this. So the first thing is we can see that the Kings are going over the screen, having two players essentially on the ball for a small amount of time before we can see as Herder goes over, he actually looks to try and loosely switch this or at least get hands in the passing lane and does a good job getting the hand on the ball. It gets deflected. Maybe that was actually Barnes, but it ricochets back to Klay Thompson. But getting a hand on this in the first place means that the Kings are creating chaos that's going to cause the Warriors some issues. Here we can see a more clear cut. We can see as the ball screen happens, as it cuts, the ball screen happens way up top. So the ball screen happens way up here. Draymond does a good job. We're going to talk about what he's doing right here in a second. But trying to create the separation. But Mitchell is able to keep active hands, switches it essentially, and is able to take away this pass and get a steal, which leads to a Kings in transition, which we already talked about is very detrimental. So then we can look at the first example, or one of the good examples of this happening in the second half after the Warriors have had time to discuss and adjust to it. As this ball screen happens, Kevon Looney is going to make more of an emphasis. They're still setting the ball screen up high, but Kevon Looney is going to try and make sure he holds Herder. I think this is Herder as long as possible. Make sure there's as much space involved so there's no hands in any passing angles. The other concept that I'm sure they discussed is instead of passing directly to Looney right here, they're going to move the ball over to Klay, who has a much easier target to pass to the rolling big. Another example is, and one that we're going to see much more of because Draymond is going to be out in Game 3, is Kevon Looney as he's setting the screen. And I know moving screen is a kind of a gray area, but he's going to actually take Mitchell almost a step further to the right away from the basket just to create more separation. So he takes that little bump right there, makes it so Mitchell has to take two more steps. It gives Steph it gives him more time with Sabonis one-on-one, and then it gives Looney more of an open area for Steph to pass to, as opposed to the congested that we saw earlier. That is a much easier pass to make. And then again, a few plays later, same thing. Notice how high it is. Looney sets the ball screen, which is look at his body as soon as he sets it. He is forcing Mitchell further this way, creating much more opening for Steph to pass this ball into and or attack it. Okay, so this space works twofold. One, he could pass to Looney, or he can essentially snake it back to the inside, taking advantage of the big being matched up one-on-one with him.